What would you say if you were going on the internet trying to find a tinnitus cure and you find a video that claims to silence and completely cure your tinnitus in 5 minutes? Well, let's watch this and I'll give my analysis as a doctor of audiology about if any of this makes scientific sense. This is Pure Tinnitus. As you can see here, they start the video by saying that one simple technique totally changed their life. Different people are describing how their tinnitus sounds, typically a high-pitched kind of noise, whether that's ringing, buzzing, roaring. It doesn't really matter. The treatment for tinnitus is still the same. The perception of how it sounds doesn't really matter in terms of how we treat it.
When I was driving a large military vehicle.
They talk a bit about how military veterans have the most prevalence of tinnitus because of their loud noise exposure, which touches on how hearing loss is commonly linked with tinnitus. They're getting into some real stories here about people had a lot of hard time being alone, being in quiet, having a hard time concentrating, having a hard time sleeping. They're saying, you know, what's the point of living because I have this loud noise and I can't stand it. It's obviously really affecting their quality of life.
Experience of joy that you can have.
And then they're sharing that they went on Reddit and people are saying, wow, this is crazy, this is working, this is helping my tinnitus immediately. And then they go into showing you how to do it. So what they're recommending is that they put their fingers like this rather, they go behind their ears and then they snap their fingers back on the mastoid bone, which is right behind the ear, about 50 consecutive times.
Yes, take a palm.
All right, then you can see the different people in this group tapping the mastoid bone just behind their ears consecutively, trying to cure their tinnitus. Our hearing organ, the cochlea, is located in the mastoid bone, so this would essentially be tapping right on that physical space around the hearing organ. So it's plausible that that could cause some temporary changes to the auditory perception. All right, now you see that they're taking their hands off of their ears and they're smiling, they're happy. They say things seem pretty quiet.
Things seem pretty quiet right now.
And different people are describing that. Okay, there's some immediate sense of relief here for these folks.
It's a good feeling. It's a great feeling.
It's really hard to put into words.
I am stupefied by how simple this was.
So one person says they're stupefied by how simple this was. Well, obviously this is not the way to cure tinnitus permanently. And if it provides temporary relief for some, then that's okay. As you can see, this woman here is crying because for her, a slight change in the loudness of the tinnitus is significant.
It's just it's a relief.
All right, now let me give my perspectives as a doctor of audiology about what I think's going on here and if any of this has scientific validity to it. My first take is that the technique they're using, it's similar to the tapping technique, which is an emotional freedom technique called EFT. You can look that up. I don't recommend that. It's not scientifically validated, but it seems similar to that. And that comes from some Eastern medicine. This video says that they say about half of the participants experienced temporary relief of their tinnitus symptom. Now, how much more than the placebo is that amount? I'm not sure. How big was their sample size? I'm not sure. You can see this first comment here. It says that actually does work. Not for long, but it does work. So there's some temporary relief components here. You can see here another comment under this video. It says, wow, I didn't know that was a diagnosis referring to tinnitus. And they just hear ringing constantly in their ears and they thought it was normal. Wow. So to some degree, hearing ringing in the ear is normal. Hearing a soft level ringing noise when you're in a quieter place. Most people experience it. So how do we define normal? Is normal complete pure silence? For most people, that's not normal. For most people, when they're in a very quiet place, they hear some slight ringing in the ears. So for someone who has tinnitus, who thinks that their life is ruined because they hear ringing, I understand that some kinds of tinnitus are very loud. So we're not always comparing apples to apples. But to hear a soft level tinnitus, it's not the end of the world. And for most people, it is considered normal. And we see another comment here under this video that the technique for this individual, it worked for a few minutes and then it came back. So don't be fooled that this is a tinnitus cure. Don't go devoting your next 3 months focusing on this technique. It's not the way to improve your tinnitus long term, and it can provide some temporary changes to the auditory perception, but what's the point if it's gonna come right back to where it was? So I wanna debunk this video and just remember that this is not a cure for tinnitus. For some people who have tinnitus, frankly, they need to work with an audiologist. As an audiologist, doctor of hearing myself, I've seen the changes in the progress people can make with tinnitus. Does that cure the tinnitus, go back to zero? Very rarely does that happen. But the changes that can be made are typically worth the effort and the energy for those individuals. So I wanted to make this video to bring some light to this tinnitus cure on Reddit and expose the video as not being worth your energy and time to consistently practice. If you want to try it one time to see if it makes a difference, sure, go ahead, be my guest. You know, unfortunately, this video made no mention to more scientifically validated treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy and hearing aids and tinnitus retraining therapy. Some of those are performed by an audiologist like myself, so I would have liked to see that in this video, but of course, that's the perspective I come from. If you guys liked this video, make sure to press that subscribe button where you get to learn all things tinnitus and hearing. And now that you're here, I want to introduce this next video, which is called How to Limit Ringing in Your Ears. This is not going to completely cure the tinnitus, but from my professional experience, these are the best methods for how to limit or reduce the tinnitus perception. So if you're into that, check out this next video. You can click it right by my side.